Okay, so we're getting into the last family of emotions here that we are going to be talking about, or that I believe is effective to use lemon essential oil with, based on lemon's essential oil's affinity to increase wood and fire within our system. So this family group is overthinking and sympathy. So the emotions of overthinking, the emotions that cause us to be in this space of overthinking and cause us to be in this sympathetic mindset, overlap some of the other emotions. So there's some sadness there, there's some fear there, and there's some anger there. So they kind of touch in together. But one of the emotions we haven't mentioned that really ties in good to overthinking and sympathy is shame. Okay, so this subset of emotions is associated with the element of earth within traditional Chinese medicine. And earth affects our spleen and our stomach. Okay, so our stomach, right, this is where we store our nutrients, and our spleen is kind of where we store our blood. Not where we store our nutrients, but where we store our food as we're getting ready to process it, to get nutrients out of it, right? And our spleen is where we store our blood. So shame, kind of to talk about and to touch into this part of this family of overthinking and sympathy. Shame is like the check engine light of our soul. And it tells us we need to investigate a problem. When we're feeling shame, it's telling us we're not worthy, we're bad. Not that we've done something wrong, but that we are wrong. And so when we have this going on in our system, it's telling us something, we've experienced something that doesn't add up. It doesn't resonate, right? Because we were created out of love. God literally loved us into existence when we were conceived, and He knit us together in our mother's womb and imbued upon us unique gifts, talents, insights, intuitions, desires, dreams, and goals. So we are good. No doubt about that. Okay? But when we're in the throes of life and we're in the middle of doing all of these crazy things that we do, we can experience these feelings of shame. And one of the things here is excessive thinking can weaken our spleen. So if we're doing too much overthinking, second guessing, we're nervous, we're worried, right? We just get this obsessive thoughts that go round and around and around in our head. Some people call it imagination on fire. And literally, we gotta put that fire out. And we have these things going on without ever having any conclusions. We don't ever come to a definite, this is how it is, or this is how it's going to be. It just keeps firing in our heads. And when this happens, we can experience a complete lack of feeling. Just a lack of feeling for others, because we are dealing with so much. We have so much going on. We're second guessing ourselves like crazy. We don't know what we could have done, what we should have done, and we can't deal with them. And then sometimes it creates this overabundance of empathy and sympathy. And we have this over concern for other people, and we go above and beyond to do for them way more than we would ever consider doing for ourselves. So when we're in this position, a lot of times it's because we're dealing with shame. So what does it feel like when we're dealing with shame? We have an increased body temperature, right? So if you think about that, like if you've blushed, right, you have that flushing sensation. You have an increased heart rate and blood pressure, so similar to the other emotions we've talked about. But now we have a submissive posture. We don't want to take up space in the room. We might just kind of sit back. We might kind of curl in. You know, we're not going to be bold. We're not going to be in the front of the classroom. We're not going to be in the center of attention. We might also experience insomnia, where we can't sleep because, again, we can't turn these thoughts off. We can get into depression, and we can have problems with our blood sugar. This can cause us to behave in ways where we're avoiding rational, normal, everyday intimacy with our parents, with our children, with our beloveds, with our best friends, right? We don't want to get close. We can't. What are they going to do with the information? Why do they want to know that? What does it have to do with anything? What if they try to tell me, no, I can't do this? So we talk ourselves out of sharing things with them. We become self-critical because, right, if we're bad, if we're wrong, then everything we do is bad and wrong and nothing's good enough. We can become perfectionists, where we have these exacting standards that are crazy high and that no one could possibly live up to. We can experience disordered eating, whether this is eating too much, whether this is eating not enough, whether we're binging and purging. Okay? And we can have trouble calming down because everything is just too much sensory overload. So when we're experiencing these things, it's good to know that shame is often tied into guilt, right? Guilt says I did something wrong and I want to make amends for it. Shame says I am wrong and there's no way to make it better. Okay? So when we're experiencing feelings of shame, or hopefully it's just the initial feelings of guilt, and it's flowing freely in our system, it allows us to atone for our actions, to make amends. Because we did something wrong, or we harmed somebody, or we messed up, right? And so in order to keep and to stay in a state of integrity as a person, and to build up our conscience, and to retain our self-respect, we're told, hey, that's wrong. Hey, nope, you shouldn't do that. Hey, nuh-uh, like reconsider here, right? These are good, positive signs for a healthy person. But if we don't allow that free-flowing guilt to direct our behavior and to cause us to change how we're doing things and to make amends, then our behaviors no longer align with our moral consciousness. And that's when we fall into shame, because we're not paying attention. We overthink, we oversympathize, and we build up this excess of earth in our system. Okay, so there's 5 symptoms here listed that describe what you could be experiencing if both of your organs are displaying the symptoms in each number. Then it's very likely that you have an excess and an imbalance of earth in your system, and working on these emotions will be helpful for you. Okay, so I'm going to read the first one, and then you're going to be able to read 2, 3, 4, and 5 on your own. So the first one says, our livers may cause us to feel depressed. We could have headaches and soreness in our eyes. Like our eyes hurt. Not our head hurts, but our eyes hurt. We can be irritable and frustrated. So if we're having these symptomologies and our spleen is causing us to be overly lacking energy. I mean, like, I'm not getting out of bed, I'm not getting out of this chair, my kids want to play, and I used to love to play, but I can't even think about doing that today, right? And we have abdominal distension, gas, a poor appetite, we don't want to eat, and we're having loose stool. If all of these things describe things that you're experiencing then it's very likely you have an overabundance and an imbalance of earth in your system. And working on this emotion, shame, guilt, overthinking, oversympathy, empathizing, that family cluster of emotions is going to be helpful for you. So go ahead and read through the rest of these symptomologies, answer the couple questions, and then we're going to talk about how lemon balances these elements when we see you back.